This episode is with Stephanie, another Stephanie. It's just two mums talking about the first year of motherhood, about the shocks and unknowns of giving birth and everything in between. Steph also took radical responsibility for her birth, and along with her partner, they dove deep into every possible variation of birth and what to do if it happens. Stephanie Beauverd is a Melbourne-based yoga teacher and holistic counsellor who is currently a stay-at-home mum to her 1-year-old baby boy. Stephanie has spent over a decade working in the community and private mental health sector, helping others improve their mental and emotional wellness. She specialises in supporting women who live with chronic anxiety and trauma, driven by her own personal experiences of both. Stephanie is passionate about trauma-informed care, mindful living, radical mothering, and holistic health. As a new mum, she has a newfound motivation to support pregnant women and mothers to remember their worth, reclaim their power, and tend to themselves with love and care. Well, that's enough from me, guys. Let's jump straight in. Welcome to the Honesty Policy Hour. I'm your host, Stephanie Marie, and it's time to put everything on the table on this beautiful journey of healing all areas of our lives, one deep conversation at a time. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
I'm good. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. I'm very excited. I feel like I've known you forever.
I know. It's so weird, hey? I love it.
I know. Good old Instagram, connecting people.
Maybe it's the same name vibe.
Maybe. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Well, I don't even remember how the connection started, but I think it was just Steph, and then just similar lifestyles,
Yeah.
similar journeys.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, no, it's good. Good old Instagram.
I know.
Connection for once.
I know. Serves a positive experience sometimes.
Yeah.
No, it does. Most of the time, it just.
Yeah.
Yes, it's beautiful. But you've got a little boy as well.
Yes.
Yes. First time mama.
Yes. Little Rafi, nearly 13 months now.
Oh my god.
So, oh my God, survived the first year. So,
How was it?
yeah, it was tough. It was tough, if I'm honest. Like, it was really hard. I think just like the shock of jumping into motherhood with so many things that I just wasn't prepared for. I don't know. I feel like, I feel like I didn't feel like myself until like 9 months, to be honest. There was just so many things that I was like, why didn't people tell me about these? And maybe it was just me, like I didn't listen enough, but there were so many things it was just the shock of the transition, I think. Your whole life changes, like every single aspect of your life.
Nothing about your life beforehand is the same.
No.
Like nothing.
Nothing.
And your life is just like it's on pause in like consideration of what it looked like before children. However, like it's the ultimate sacrifice. It really is when it comes to anything. Like it's so strong in regards to self-development because you develop so much. Like you've got to go to the pits and then you're like, the light.
Yeah, it's like a whole new level of personal development.
Big time.
Like, probably the best personal development work you could ever do, I think, in a way.
I agree wholeheartedly.
You're just pushed, your buttons are pushed, your triggers, you have to expand in so many ways, you're learning so many new things. It's just,
Especially being a first-time mum. Like, it's very, like you said, it's like, why didn't people tell me about this stuff? But I don't think it's not they didn't tell you about it. I think, like, I'm the type of person that I start researching when I'm in the thick of it or when I'm, because when it's not about you, you're listening, but you're not like, you're like, oh, yeah, cool.
It's not what your head, like, it's not where your head's at.
No.
Yeah.
And every child is completely different.
Yeah.
So, you get your hard, like someone else's easy was someone else's hardship. We didn't have an issue with breastfeeding, but sleep was really, really it was our struggle.
Okay, yeah.
Where it's the other way around for some people.
Yeah.
What was your hard moment?
I think the start for me was we couldn't put Rafi down, like for his naps, at all for the first 10 weeks. So me or my partner held him during the day for every single nap.
Wow.
And I just wasn't prepared for that. I was just like...
Baby sleeps, I can clean or do stuff.
Yeah, or even just get up and get a glass of water.
Shower.
Like, sitting there holding him on the couch for 2 hours. If I put him down, he'd scream and wake up.
Wow.
And, like, it makes sense once I kind of researched a bit more and was like, you know, some babies just really want to be held. And at the start, I couldn't put him in the carrier because he was quite small. Like, he was really tiny when he was born. And the carrier kind of said, oh, you know, I think they had to be a certain weight to put him in the carrier. So I couldn't use that straight away. So I was just, like, sitting for hours, holding him all day. And I was just, like, I felt, like, trapped and, like, really, like, I can't even do anything unless my partner takes over. And then even then, it's like, oh, you know, you've got, like, 5 minutes to yourself and then they cry again or need more food. And so I think that was a big shock. Everyone was like, don't worry, newborns sleep heaps. like,
yeah, on me.
But on me. And then I can't do anything. So, like, there were times I was, like, holding the baby. I'm like, but I really need to go to the toilet. I need to go pee. And, like, my partner would come with me and help me because I couldn't put him down.
Oh, my goodness.
So that was just, like, yeah, I really struggled with that. Really struggled. Because I felt trapped and I felt like I couldn't see that, like, this won't be forever. I was like, oh, so this is my life now forever.
This is it.
This is it. I'm just trapped on the couch. Can't do anything.
It's always the way when you're in the thick of it, you think that this is long term.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not. Like, when did he start?
It was literally like 10 weeks that we could put him down in the bassinet on the bed to sleep during the day. And then I was like, well, finally my arm's back.
What if you, like, side fed him in the bed and just kind of crept away?
Tried that at the start. Nah. He just literally wanted to be held. He would scream and wake up. So that was like a big shock. And I think, I just wasn't prepared for I don't know, just every aspect of my life to change.
Yeah.
To feel different, to be different.
To look different.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
I had an amazing birth experience, so that I'm very grateful for. But, I think it was just that, the transition. And I mean, obviously, like, we had other stress kind of going on because we were selling our house. We had a really bad neighbour, so we had this, like, additional stress, which I know everyone has something going on. No one's living, like, the perfect, peaceful life. But that definitely added to it because we had to have then inspections every week with a newborn. So we had to tidy up the house and then we had the neighbour. And so, there was all these other stress.
Oh, God,
and then we moved when he was 3 months. And, but, you know, nothing's perfect. It was all meant to be. But, it was just that transition. And I think, like, kind of early on I found this term, matrescence. Have you heard about it?
Transition between maiden to motherhood.
To mother. And it's like adolescence. It's like a stage of intense change, growth, learning. Your body's changing. Your brain has changed.
It's a paganism term, isn't it?
I don't know, actually. I heard it on a podcast, Nikki McCannon.
Yeah, no, matrescence, I think that is the transition, but from the transition between maiden to mother, I think that might be.
I think those terms, But that term is kind of like trying to explain how it's similar to adolescence. And when I read that, I was like, oh my God, that makes sense. Like, it was kind of a bit comforting. I was like, okay, I'm in this intense period. It's not going to last forever. This is what I'm going through. Okay, it makes sense.
It's like you need a label to define what is going on.
Yeah.
Like, not comparing it to sickness or anything like that, but when someone's trying to find, like, what's wrong with me, they're trying to find this label. Okay, this is a category that I fit into. Or somebody else has experienced what I'm experiencing. So I think as humans, we just naturally want to define the situation.
Yeah.
However, I do like the experience of that. It gave me a sense of peace too, because it was understanding that a piece of me has to die, metaphorically, in order for me to be the best mother possible. Yeah. And birth has a lot to do with that. You know, going to the pits. Oh, the rubbish bins have come on. Great timing. But you're going to the pits, and not the pits, but feeling that the pain and you know, contractions. And I read a beautiful post, and it was saying how birth is like going to the skies in a different universe to collect your baby and returning it again. How gorgeous. And I was like, that makes so much sense, because you feel like you're in a different dimension during labour and going, and that's like the beginning of that transition.
Yeah.
Not transaction. Transition.
Yeah.
Baby brain has kicked in big time.
No, I have heard that it's like your maiden self kind of like burns to the ground or starts to in that birth process. And even then after with the baby, I remember I'd read a bit about that. And I kind of used it. There were a few moments where I was just like being really triggered or overwhelmed or like tired from rocking him and upset or whatever. And I tried to remind myself, I'm like, okay, is this my maiden self reacting? You know, wanting to control the situation, or my maiden self wishing someone would come save me, and then that really helped me just like, okay, I can't act like that anymore. What would the mother do now? Like, 'cause now I am the mother. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, I know not a lot of people know about those terms or like the archetypes of maid and mother, and then I think it's Maga, and then crone, or I don't know the other one.
Child, maiden, mother, crone.
Crone, yeah. So I know not many people know about it, but I read a little bit about it, and I think it is really helpful.
It is. Yeah. It just, and I love what you said before about recognizing, is this my maiden self or is this my mother's self? And that is such a beautiful understanding, because what we do when we're feeling certain emotions, we like to think that, we put the pity party on, we play victim, but understanding that these intense emotions, they're not who we are, they're just a part of us, and recognizing them and looking at them, but waiting until they kind of pass, because they always do.
Yeah.
So I love when you said that. That was gorgeous, because you go through pretty shitty, uncomfortable periods, and really, there was times where I just wasn't sleeping and I was waking up 6 to 7 times a night, and I just remember waking up going and just crying, and I'm just like, it was just the most, and just getting my husband, I'm like, you have to help, because I can't keep doing this anymore, and just the patience that I learned through that moment, because I was very much an impatient person before my son came, so I felt like I needed the lessons of patience, and it definitely taught me a lot. So I am a different person after that. So, and maybe like I was always also the type of person that was always do like to move. So I don't know if you were as well.
Yeah, can resonate with that.
There you go. So, you know, having the type of baby that makes you sit put, would have also taught you to slow down.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, very go, and just wanted everything organised and knowing what I'm doing in the day and the routine, and, you know, I think that comes, like, a lot of women are like that, especially if you've got that anxious type, and I do.
Me too.
You know, the control, when things to be controlled to kind of feel safe.
Just ask my husband about that one.
I know. But with a baby, you cannot do that. Like, you can't. It doesn't matter. I know there are people out there that control the sleep and the feed, but at the end of the day, you can't. The baby's their own person. You have to go with their rhythm. It changes everything, and I think that adds to the overwhelm at the start too, especially if you are that type of person, like you said. You're like, hang on, everything I used to do doesn't work anymore.
There's just so much information out there, and you know, bless the internet, but it does create so much stresses, and I don't know if that's created more of an anxious mothers, because there's just so much shit out there where, you know, our mums, they never had that. It was just what their mums did and what their cousins did and their, you know, immediate tribe did. Where now it's just like, well, you know, her from Canada and her from America and her from whatever said it's best to do this. And it's really conflicting information, because she says it's great, but my son doesn't want me to do that at all. He's losing it when I do that. So I think it's nice. It's kind of nice to know what everybody else does as a reference point. But in regards to gospel, I don't think it exists. It's just, you know, being able to pivot according to them.
Yeah, and I think if you're going, like, I've found it really helpful jumping in, like, certain Facebook groups at certain times to ask certain things.
I like certain.
So that I didn't feel alone of, like, am I, you know, is this relatively normal? Like, I'm feeling really confused about this thing with baby or this thing. But like you said, then it's easy to then get too caught up in, like, oh, but look, she said her baby sleeps for 10 hours straight throughout the night and he's the same age as my baby, so why is he not doing it? You know, you start comparing. So I think that's when, you know, I just try and remind myself that every single baby is different. They're doing that doesn't mean, you know, they might have great sleep and maybe they've got other health challenges, and our baby's healthy but he's got sleep challenges. You just can't compare.
No.
But like you said, you take it with a grain of salt. If you jump on the internet, it's helpful in some ways. I've connected with so many new mums. Like, since becoming a mum, I've, like, found my tribe online. Beautiful. Some people now I've actually met in person in Melbourne. Yeah, it's been amazing. And, like, had deeper meaningfuls with new mums that I've just met, but because I'm on the same wavelength, and it helped me so much. But yeah, like you said, you just got to come back to yourself too. Yeah.
And like that understanding, like that's just the hidden message there. I think being understood and heard, like our partners can only do so much. They have no idea. Like they can see and they can try, but they don't know the emotional stresses behind it all. And that's the bit where, you know, it can feel like you're never feeling heard. So finding women, like-minded women, or your tribe that you really connect with and feel like you can soften with.
So important. Like, yeah, because other women just get it. Like, even if your partner's very empathic, very, you know, great listener, which my partner is, I'm so blessed, like amazing support. Other women actually know, like they've felt it in their body. When you say, I'm so tired from breastfeeding or something, they get it because you felt it. Like in your body, you actually know exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah, so important.
Yeah, they can't 100% know because they haven't physically gone through it. So that's the bit. But, you know, my husband's the same, very compassionate, very understanding, great listener. But yeah, there's still an element of not fully knowing. You need both. Definitely.
Like, you know, your supports and then friends and
But I like, you know, how we were saying previously about, you know, we put so much emphasis when we're pregnant onto the birth, but we forget about the postpartum bit. And that's the bit where it's like, oh, shit. I wish I kind of put more planning into this. And this is where, you know, mums that are up to, you know, having multiple children after one, they just like, make sure you have meals, make sure you have this, or do a big cook, or do a meal train, or whatever it is. And make sure that you have that support and the knowledge of, you know, things that can go wrong, like mastitis or whatever. But, you know, I feel that the labour bit, that it takes the limelight away from, away from postpartum.
Yeah, definitely.
But then you read like postpartum can last up to 5 years, and I'm like, oh Jesus.
I know, but I think I know what you mean. Like the immediate time. Yeah.
Like the first 6 months, even less, the first 4 months, where your world's changing. Because even up until the end of your pregnancy, you're still living your life.
Yeah.
You don't have any children to, like, if you're pregnant with your first, you don't have to run around with anyone. Like now the second time round, it's completely different. It's completely different. Like Are you doing things like for yourself now? Are you doing things differently in terms of preparing for postpartum? I had a really beautiful, postpartum, even though my birth ended up in a C-section, which is not what I wanted at all. I still had a really beautiful postpartum. Like I had a lot of support. My husband was home for 5 weeks. So I got a lot, like my mum and my mother-in-law were over all the time for help. And and I was not even worrying about sleep because I was so excited. So the journey was gorgeous until it got hard with the sleep, where I was like, why isn't he sleeping? Like the 12-week mark where he should sort of settle like in the bassinet, or like I could leave him for a bit, but it was like an hour of trying to put him to sleep for him to sleep 15 minutes and then I have to do it again. Like the constant being like, once my husband went back to work, the being in a dark room, those two things was like, oh, great.
Yeah.
So being in a dark room alone, trying to rock a baby to sleep, being alone. Like I used to work at a gym as well, so I was around so many people a day, and you know I love talking to people, I love interacting with people, and then having that big contrast was really, really hard for me. Like it really affected my mental health. So I really had to kind of learn that balance. But now this time round, you know, we got a sleep consultant when Atlas turned 12 months, because I was like, he's 12 months, he should be waking 7 to 8 times a night. I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
Because I tried so many things and it was just not working. And then we got another sleep consultant and she worked within the second night. So I was like, oh, amazing. Yeah. And I spoke to her when I was pregnant. I was like, as soon as this kid's 12 weeks, you're helping me. Like, I don't know if there's things you can do. She's like, there's definitely things that we can do. Because I'm not doing what's it called? The crying out method. No. It just wasn't what I'm about.
Yeah, fair enough.
I did give it a go and highly... regretted it after doing some research. But I was so desperate at the time.
Yeah, I was just going to say that sometimes you just got to try stuff. Like you actually, like you saying, oh, I got so desperate. I feel like there's so many things you say, oh, I'll never do that, I'll never do that. But when you're in those really hard moments, like you said, maybe you're alone, your partner's at work, or even if they're there, you're so exhausted, you're so desperate for change or for something to just,
big time.
You're willing to just like, oh, just do it, just do anything. Yeah.
Because the crying and the angst of what you feel when they're crying, it's like this heart wrenching, like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And like I just remember closing the door and leaving him in the cot and just putting my back up against the bloody door and just bawling my eyes out, going, "Is this here forever?" Like I feel like, as you said, like this is my life.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah.
Trying to put a baby to sleep for freaking hours and then me get a break for 10, 15 minutes. And then I got to do it again. And then there'll be times where I'm like, I'm not doing this. I'm not staying in that dark room. Like I've repeated myself, dark room, because it started to really get to me. I didn't want to be there anymore.
Yeah.
And it's so
see these little things, like these are even things that I feel like is not spoken about enough, and like we're not prepared that might happen. Not everyone, but these are different little experiences that you might have, and they're the little, like these not little things, but there could be really big things that really challenge you as a mum. You're not prepared for it, challenges might trigger you. It's like, it really pushes you.
But you can't be prepared for any of this stuff. This is it. I think like being aware that, mums go through, like have their issues, whether it's like breastfeeding, sleep, or putting down, or having 5 minutes to yourself, or, whatever it is, even like once they start eating solids and whatever it is. So there's just so many different things that can go wrong. But all right. Yeah. Like, you don't know. Like, next time I might get an amazing sleeper and an awful eater. Atlas is not a bad eater at all. Like, will eat anything you put in front of him. And he was a great breastfeeder from day one. So...
But see, that's the thing, isn't it? I feel like a lot of the recommendations in, like, the mainstream maternity system, there are these recommendations or information that kind of says, so your baby should eat at 6 months, or your baby by this age should be sleeping kind of this. And so I think sometimes those recommendations cause a lot of stress and overwhelm, because, they might say, oh, but every baby's different, but still, you've seen that and you're like, hang on, but you're still saying my baby doesn't do that. Is my
baby broken? What am I doing something wrong? What am I doing wrong? Like you start having these repetitive questions in your head, and and this is like going back to the question you asked me before. What will I do different next time? Like the guidelines, I will throw out the window. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and just go off. Like now I know what the guidelines are. I'm not like they will still be there in the back of my mind, but in regards to like there's certain things with feeding, making sure they're sitting upright, make sure they're actually interested in food. There's all these little things that they should be doing rather than like waiting for 6 months to happen. Yeah. Even like the walking one, that one gets me so much. Like people like, if they're not walking by 12 months, like what's going on? It's like, hang on a second. Yeah, like it's not...
Every baby's different. Yeah. I mean, there are things, obviously, you look out for, like, to identify if something was wrong.
Of course.
But, saying that and just seeing that as a new mum, I think the first time, when you're a first-time mum, seeing those recommendations just causes stress, I think. It does. I think it's just got to come back to yourself and just say, look, is my baby healthy? Unless there's something I'm concerned about, they'll do it in their own time.
Yeah, and understanding your why, like... Not like my baby not reaching this benchmark. Why am I so upset about that? Yeah. Like, what is that? Is it a comparison thing? Do I feel like I have to keep up with the Joneses? Do I have to feel like have I been like that in other areas of my life? Yeah. Like really recognizing that. Yes. But and just not giving a fuck about the judgment. Like if someone says, "Oh, your baby's not walking," well, are you going to congratulate me when he actually does, or you're just going to criticize me when he's not? Like. These are the things that, and people that are going to do that are close to you, you can politely say thanks, but no thanks. But the people that just are not, serving your life in any matter, they're the people that you just like, they're the red flags. You're just like, okay.
Yeah, that's not helpful.
No.
Not to a first-time mum or a new mum or a new baby. Like, just, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it.
Yeah, exactly. I've asked a few mums this question. What were besides obviously the putting down, what was one thing that you were like, I wish someone told me that this actually happens? Like at the start, like the first few weeks. Or even during birth.
Other than the putting down, I think that was the hardest. I think it was just like I said before, just knowing that there's an intense period and that things do shift. It's not like forever.
Yeah.
That there'll be like constant little changes where things do get better and you will feel like yourself again.
Yeah.
Like a new version of yourself, obviously, but as in that really intense period at the start where you just feel so overwhelmed. I just kind of wish I had more voices saying to me, like, it's okay, this won't last. You know, you'll get through this period. It's just intense. Let everything else go. And then, you know, things will get better and you'll start to actually love it more, not be so upset about the sleep, be so tired and overwhelmed because you're learning about the feeding and all this stuff. Like, you know, it'll get easier. You'll love more parts of it. I think it's just, I feel like I needed more female voices reminding me of that at the start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because where there's good, there's always bad, and they both pass. And you know, the good always sometimes outweighs the bad, and vice versa. And it's just this ebb and flow that continues your whole motherhood journey.
Yeah.
You know, like at the moment, it's the behavioural stuff with me, but you know, our days are so much more fun because we're not revolved around sleep anymore, and you know, where he can sleep in the car if he has to, or you know, where he's so much more interactive with me and other people and kids, and it's just fun.
Yeah.
It's really fun where, you know, before I got a lot more time to myself when he started sleeping. You know, it was 2 hours, 3 hours during the afternoon and full 12 hours sleep at night when he started sleeping again. So I was like, that's amazing for someone who didn't sleep for 12 months.
Oh my gosh.
But because it does. It starts pouring into other areas of your life. Like you just become an unhappy person when it's just, you know, sleep deprivation's freaking real.
Totally. And it's so normal to affect your mental health.
Of course.
Like, you sleep deprive anyone, male, female, anyone at any age, and you will see the impact on their mental health and their physical health. So why with new mums, like, is
you look tired.
Yeah,
no shit.
Stigma around it. Like,
no shit.
You know, a lot of mums, but they start to go a bit, like, I felt like that too. I was like, wow, I've never kind of been this challenged with my mental health in a way. And I was like, well, hang on, you know, like, it's normal because I'm so sleep deprived. My whole life has changed. I have a baby to take care of. I'm learning a lot of new things. That's
barely have a shower a day.
Exactly.
Like one a day. It's like,
and the little things, like you said, like the shower, just being able to then have that every day made me feel so good.
I know, like making sure. I was like, how long has it been since? I think I haven't had a shower in a couple of days. I'm like, shit, I better have a shower because you don't think about it. You are secondary to a newborn,
especially at the start. Yeah.
So it's very
But you know what's interesting, like, well, not interesting, but sad in a way. Like, I found a few amazing, like, mums sharing online on Instagram, right? Some really good accounts where they're sharing really openly, really vulnerable stuff about their experience, stuff that, you know, maybe a lot of women don't talk about. And it's great. Like, I love it. Everything, I'm like, oh my God, yeah, I felt that too. I've had those thoughts too. Or, yeah, that, you know, I agree. But then you look at some of the comments, like, it's sad. There are some people just saying really nasty things like, stop complaining, or you chose to have kids, and making these comments. And I'm like, God, okay, I know everyone's got their thing, but horrible stuff, right? But it just made me think, no wonder then women don't want to speak up necessarily and share how they're really doing, because they can sometimes get comments like that of like, well, stop complaining, you chose to have kids, or we don't want to hear it, or... You know, and it's like there is a lot of stigma around women, mothers sharing if they're struggling, and
then you reply to that people like, oh, how many kids do you have? And they're like 0. So why speak and why have judgment? And this is where mums really need to put up their boundaries to people like that, and you know, like listen, but don't have to absorb that because again, they probably don't have kids. They probably have no idea what's going on.
They're coming from a hurt place, or whatever it is.
But it's still. But when you're sleep deprived. And when you're very sensitive to those comments, it's not fun.
But we should be allowed to share. Like, you can love motherhood, you can love your baby and still find it really hard. And you're allowed to say that.
Of course.
Like,
my God.
I feel like that needs to be said to some people. Like,
why can't I struggle
and be... obvious, but for other people it's like, excuse me, like, let us complain if we need to complain. Like, you know, obviously you monitor if it becomes... It's ongoing for a long time, and signs of depression or things like that, for sure. But... like you said before, you need to be seen, you need to be heard, you need to let it all out, even if it sounds crazy, even if it's like really dark thoughts. For new mums, they need that support and not be told just, you know, kind of shush and just deal with it in your home. I feel like there's a bit of that in our society.
Of course,
don't you think?
massively.
Yeah.
Massively. But
like,
people are very look, I feel that when it comes to the mums being quiet, because, you know, it doesn't matter how many times we have to say the same thing. Like, I reckon I just said I'm tired 100 times during, like, the first, more than 100 times.
Yeah.
Because I was tired, but it was the only thing that I was thinking about.
Yeah.
So I didn't have anything interesting going on in my life. I wasn't catching up with people. I wasn't, you know, I wasn't working. There was nothing happening.
Yeah.
So this, for me, was my entire world. So for me, I had nothing else to share. So when I did want to share, I was like, oh, but people are finding it boring because there's nothing going on in my life besides the fact that I'm not sleeping.
Yeah.
But then I stopped talking based on other people's thoughts of me being a drainer in conversation.
Oh.
And then I just end up swallowing my own stuff and then going closer into my hole. But I did recognise that, and I was like, no, I'm going to, like, you know, the people that I trust and, you know.
That's when you need the right people.
Yeah.
That you feel like you can say anything and they'll listen and not judge.
Yeah, and it was, like, mums that have gone through the same stuff. Like, I had a girlfriend that the one that recommended us the sleep consultant that saved us. She was the same. She's like, I feel you, Steph. Like, I feel you on so many levels. Because we hosted a sleep workshop with the girl the woman that helped us.
Yeah, awesome.
And just the little things that you speak about, like, you know, being in a room full of women that went through exactly the same thing you did.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of it, like, I still get really nervous when Atlas has to sleep in new environments, because I'm like, is he going to sleep?
Yeah.
Are we going to go back? He's been sleeping for a year, no problem.
Yeah.
Every night.
Yeah.
Every single night for 10, 12 hours for a year. And I'm still freaking out about things going wrong.
Yeah.
Because of how much it affected me at the time.
Of course.
So, yeah, it's a very interesting, like, you're so happy that things are good again, but you're so scared of it going back.
Well, you know that there's always ebb and flows, like you said. No,
please, I don't want to ebb again. I don't want to ebb.
Again,
just flow. Give me a new ebb. I don't want the old one.
A different one.
Different one. Oh, God.
Yeah. Oh, God.
But I love your birth story and how you took it in your own hands. I think that is so rare for a first time birth.
Yeah.
Are you happy to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we did?
So when you found out you were pregnant, did you always, so you obviously had a home birth.
Yes.
Did you know that you always wanted to do a home birth before you fell pregnant?
No.
Okay.
Not at all. For years and years before, like, we even thought about having a baby, my partner and I always wanted to become a mum, but I was like, one day when I get pregnant, it's going to be so hard. Like, I had all these fears, which a lot of it is conditioning from our society. Like,
for pregnant, you thought it was going to be hard?
Well, just pregnancy in general.
Okay.
Like, you have to have lots of tests. And one thing for me was, like, you have to have lots of blood tests and stuff. Like, I've got a phobia of blood tests. So years and years before, I was always like, birth's so hard and painful. Like, just all the conditioning of messages that I'd taken in. So I was like, I don't know what I'll do. I don't know what I'll do. I didn't know anyone that had a home birth, but I just knew, I was like, I really don't want to birth in a hospital because I don't like them, and I have medical trauma from being as a kid, and I hate hospitals. I always have. Just as soon as I go in them, get really anxious, and I used to feel really faint just walking in a hospital. So I was like, I just don't want to be in there. But I didn't know what any of the other options were because I didn't know anyone that had a home birth.
Did you have a lot of women in your circle that had babies?
A few friends, and they'd all done the standard, hospital birth and that kind of thing. And it was only then, maybe just a couple years before we started thinking about having a baby, that we had one couple that were our friends that they had a home birth. So then, because they did it, we asked them heaps of questions, and they were like, oh, okay, cool, so this is an option. And then I guess when we became ready to start thinking about having a baby, just started doing a bit of research. Actually, I think it was once we fell pregnant, started going down the rabbit hole and just researching. I didn't know anything about, like, wild pregnancy or free birth or real much about home birth. I thought I just didn't know. When I found the Facebook group and there were like thousands of women in it, I was like, wow, there's actually other women doing this too. It's cool. Like, that was good. It wasn't on my radar. No one in my family, my partner's family, had done that. So at first, I think it was my fears that were kind of pushing me away from the hospital. So then that's why I was leaning towards home birth. But then once I started researching and just learning about natural physiological birth, how it works, how birth is pretty safe compared to what I've actually been taught, I started thinking, well, yeah, it kind of makes sense to just birth at home. Like, actually, that would be a lot better for us. Like, we thought that would be so nice. And, then we just decided to do that. So went down a lot of research, like heaps of research, and just talking to different people. And, yeah, it was quite a journey. I think, in my pregnancy. Like, we had to do a lot of, like, boundary setting and...
With what, people's opinions?
Yeah, because we were doing things differently, and because I think, I'm sure you probably agree, in our society, like, there's a lot of fear around birth. It's seen as this really dangerous event, and you have to have the medical system there all the time, which is not true. For most women that are low risk and healthy, they can birth, like we can, So, yeah, there was a lot of, like, my partner and I went on our own kind of journeys of, like, staying true to our values and really reflecting on what we wanted and shutting people out, and then having really solid boundaries with family around it, and lots of researching. And then, we felt really good about it and just tried to research. And, yeah, that's our style, like my partner and I, to, like, research and learn. And we learnt about all the different variations of normal, like if you have a breech birth, if you have the cord around the neck. Like, we researched everything and wrote out notes. Literally, like, that's our style.
Sell it. Sell the book.
I've got it. It's a document. On sale now.
Seriously, I think we women would buy that. All the things that could go wrong that are not an emergency is what we think they are.
Yeah, well, I didn't make, like, I referenced a lot of books, like amazing midwives and people that have written these great books.
It's
and
awesome.
I just referenced them, and I wrote what page to refer to. And
that's
we
great.
put it up on the wall. Like,
did you?
Yeah, just for, like, so that, because I wanted to be in the zone, obviously, in pregnancy, not worrying about things. So it was more for my partner that if he saw something happening, he could just look and be like, okay, this is what you do.
Like PowerPoint projection. Like, let me go to notes search.
Let me just check this up. Yeah. It was,
Hang on, did you not get help? Did you not have anyone in the room?
We had a birth attendant supporting us, yeah.
So you didn't want a midwife, a doula, anyone? Did you, like... At
the start, we did.
Yes.
Like, so we did a bit of research and we were willing to pay whatever, do whatever. But then we just couldn't really find anyone that we clicked with that was totally aligned. That I clicked with as well, to have another woman there. I definitely wanted another woman.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just had it in my head that I thought, what if in labour I get, scared, and I just want another woman there that's had birth. Like, my partner's amazing. He's absolutely amazing. But I just wanted another woman so I could turn to her and she could say, no, like, that she's done it.
Yeah,
and
you're
she
okay.
could be there. And what was interesting was we were meant to have a certain doula, and then after a few months she had to cancel because she had she was burnt out. It was fine. I was upset at the time, but I realised now it was meant to happen. So she cancelled on us. I was probably nearly 6 months late.
Oh my God.
So, but that was actually perfect. Like, looking back now, it was great that happened. Because that happened, I was like, okay, if we don't find anyone, it might just be us at home. So we did end up finding someone, so that's fine. But that kind of pushed us to research even more, and it made me really reflect on, so do I need another, why do I want another woman there? To save me because I've got thoughts that it's dangerous. I did a lot of reflection on that. I did sessions with my psychotherapist, with another lady who was a mentor, and I had this amazing session with her, and she's like, you want this other strong, amazing woman there, but maybe that's you. She said that to me, and I was like, that was this pivotal moment where I was like, yeah, maybe, why do I need someone else there? So I did a lot of work throughout my pregnancy. I felt like that was a massive shift for me. I was like, yeah, see, maiden self wants to be saved. These beliefs, limiting beliefs that it's dangerous. Maybe it's not. Maybe I can do it. And and then, I feel a bit emotional. I did heaps of work. It was amazing. It's helped me so much leading up to my birth. I think it really helped me, myself, my own personal growth. from like a maiden, just really starting to like already think like, no, you're going to become a mum. Mum means you need different qualities. You're going to give birth. You can do it. Heaps of other women, like millions of other women do it. Why would you think you can't? I know I had certain fears around medical things, and like, so that was a big one that I was really scared about then transferring to hospital. I really didn't want to. I had a lot of fears around that because of my childhood trauma around that. I was like, if I go to hospital, I'm going to get jabbed and all this stuff. Like, I was just scared. And I still had to work on that too, because I was like, you can't control every aspect of birth. That could be a reality. Of course, I'm going to go to hospital if I need medical attention, or me or my baby. So I had to work through that fear and just really like let it go then. Well, not let it go. Like, I did work on like, if I go there, it'll be okay. This is what I'll do. Wrote up a hospital like kind of plan, or, you know, I thought things through, and just kind of towards the end I was like, all right, well, if that happens, it happens, you know. But yeah, anyway, so then we had the home birth, and it was amazing. It was hard, but you know, like, I had 18 hours, I think, active labour. Wow. So that was hard, but...
How did you know what was active labour versus...
So my waters broke on a Tuesday night, and then...
When you started feeling like you were in before contractions?
I had really mild ones, like so mild that I didn't even know.
You thought they were like Braxton's?
Yeah, I didn't know. It was just like period pain. It was
okay.
Yeah, I didn't even know.
I know there's so much shit that goes on at the end of pregnancy. You're just like, whatever.
What's happening down there? I don't even know. It was like...
I remember the pressure. That pain.
Heaviness.
Oh my goodness. That was... I was like, oh.
And then towards the end, you're just like, what's going on?
There's just so much.
Yeah. And then, because my waters actually broke, I was like, oh no, this is like a sign of next thing.
Did you get the drizzle, or did you get the gush, the Hollywood gush? Did you?
Yeah. We were playing cards on the couch, just trying to relax. And then I was like, okay, gotta go to the toilet, be back. Yeah.
Because you feel like you wet yourself at the start. You're like, what happened?
Yeah. It kept leaking through like the next day.
It did,
but, yeah. And so I told our birth attendant, and she was like, just rest. And, you know, but we hadn't set up anything because we were selling our house. We hadn't set up the birth room. So frantically, like 11 o'clock at night, you know, we're blowing up the birth pool and everything.
How many weeks were you at this stage?
So I was nearly 40. Okay. It was basically... No, I was 40 actually. I was 40. Yeah, I was 40. Right on.
Wow.
And the whole time in my pregnancy, I kept seeing that statistic where it's like only less than 20% of women give birth on their due date. So I was like, no, I'll be over. I kept thinking like, I'll be over, and I was right on.
It's like 3% of women are due on their birthday. It's like
really?
a very small percentage.
Lower?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go.
It's a very small percentage. Yeah. I think, I don't know if it's 3. I'm probably guessing, but I know it's single digits. It's very low.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I just wasn't expecting it. And then the next day I rested all day, and then the contractions kicked in a lot more. Mm-hmm. And told our birth attendant, she's like, yeah, okay, just keep taking it easy. And then they got really intense. I was just using all my different strategies of like breathing was helping a lot at the start. And I think that's what's interesting too, like different things might help you at different stages of labour, but you know, it changes. So at the start, the breathing really helped, but then it got to a point where like, no, it wasn't helping.
Nothing's helping.
Yeah. And at the start, like visualizations, I was doing certain things that didn't help at a certain point too, you know. And then I went in the pool, and so it went all night until the next day. And so my birth attendant came in the middle of the night. She was great. She was more in the background, so it was really good. Like, she was in the background, and it was more me and my partner. And then I was in the pool a lot. That helped heaps, just the warm water.
How beautiful is it? As soon as I got in, I'm like, oh.
It was lovely. She kept up, like, she was at one point like, do you want to just go for a walk? I mean, if you want to, or go in the shower. And I tried it, but I was like, no, I want to get back in the pool, just hop back in and stay in there.
It was nice.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. And I screamed the house down with my contractions. I don't know how the neighbours, like, we warned them, but I don't know how no one called the cops. Honestly,
someone's dying in the background.
I know.
Something's happening.
But
you're like, yes, my maiden self is.
Yes, that's true. That's true. She was. And yeah, so obviously home birth, like unmedicated, and transition was hard. There was one point I said to my partner, I'm like, call an ambulance and get them to drop off some meds. I need the meds. He's like, they don't just drop it off.
Here you go.
Like a package at the door. Uber meds. No. No, that doesn't happen.
I love that. They always, like, when you speak to like midwives and stuff, they always say the same thing. Like, there's always a time where the woman is asking, like, take me to a hospital, to give me something, like, that final ask for help. Like
Yeah.
once you did that, when was your baby born?
Yeah, then a couple hours.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
think maybe 2-3 hours after that.
Wow.
Yeah. But I was still really switched on. Like, I don't know, I read a lot in my pregnancy about how during birth some women go into really like euphoric state, but I felt like I was still really switched on.
Yeah.
Like, because even when my partner told me that, he's like, no, they don't drop off the meds. He's like, you don't really, they'll probably want to take you to hospital. He's like, you don't really want that, remember? And then I was actually thinking, I'm like, oh yeah, I don't really want that. So I was still quite switched on, like my thinking, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And then only like maybe an hour or two of pushing, and then boom, he came out in one go. Yeah.
Oh my God, did you tear it all?
No.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Within, honestly, like a couple of days, within 2 weeks, like, everything stopped bleeding, and I just felt normal within 2 weeks.
Amazing.
Physically, like, yeah, not mentally, emotionally, but physically, you know.
Everything else, no, never again.
The body held up really well, so
that's
yeah,
great.
It's just, and then like we were both so shocked that like it just was so smooth. I know that's not everyone's experience, but he came out fine. I didn't tear. He was healthy. He was crying, and then we took our time. The placenta came out within an hour easily. I went and had a shower after, and then, so it was like 3 o'clock he was born. By nearly 6 o'clock, then she left, cleaned up everything, she left. We were sitting there, and I'm like, okay, I'm hungry. He's like, all right, I'll get the pizza out that we prepared earlier, because that's my favourite food. I was like, I want it ready. And then we're just sitting there at the table holding the baby, eating pizza, and I'm like, we did it. So that's it? Like,
now
we
what?
did it? Like, now what? Like,
where's the manual?
You know, like, birth can be really straightforward at times.
Yeah.
Not everyone, I know, and I'm very blessed, and I'm sure there's an element of luck with everything. But it was
I don't
just
think so.
everything.
I think you did the work. We
did, but I think there is always a tiny bit of, we did do a lot of work. So yes, thank you. But I think there is a tiny bit of, sometimes, of course, birth is unpredictable. Things can happen no matter how much you prepare. And, but yeah, we were really blessed. And it just, and then we're like, wow, it's done. Like, he's here. And like, that's it. Oh my God.
We are done.
Yeah, it's done.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's the craziest thing when you bring we transferred. So when we bought Atlas home, I was just like on the couch with this baby going,
oh my God.
Oh,
What now?
I know. There's a newborn baby.
It's a cute little bubba.
I
And
know.
the whole world changes. And but I was just, I think, I'm so grateful for the experience we had. We put a lot of work into it. But I just feel like I needed that, like, for myself. Like, I needed to have that experience. I read this quote recently. I don't know who it's by, sorry. But it's something like, if you meet your most powerful self during birth, you'll walk into motherhood empowered and dangerous. And I feel like I met my most powerful self, and that transformed me. And, I'm a completely different person. Like, I'm so grateful for that I had that experience, because, it's helped shape who I am now as a mum and as a woman. So, I mean, now a year on, I'm like, all right, I'll do it again. Not in that first year. I was like, got to survive the first year. But, you're kind of like, wow.
Starting to thinking about it
if
already.
If you have a good empowered birth experience, like, I've been very aware. Even I shared my birth story a tiny bit on social media, but not a lot. And I think I'm just very aware of so many women that have birth trauma. 1 in 3, they say, Australians, which I think is a lot higher potentially, but a lot of women. And so I really feel for them, because I had such an amazing one. I can't imagine like not having that.
Yeah. But it's important for amazing, successful stories. I'm not saying that the ones that aren't amazing aren't successful,
No.
but the ones that, the went to plan, they're just important to speak to, because you're giving women, including myself, like, understanding that you can have a birth that is very smoothly, that goes smoothly. So here we go, pregnancy brain kicks in again. But that goes smoothly, and it's that fear of something's going to go wrong, and you hear it all the time to a point where it's embedded in your head, and it's hard. Something's wrong. Oh, this didn't happen to plan, or whatever. But having successful stories like the ones that you did. It's proof.
We need to hear them. Yeah, it's true. It's true. We need to hear them, because there's a lot of fear around birth, I think, in our society.
Of course.
And people often share their horror stories with pregnant women too, right? I was like, well, be careful, this doesn't happen, I had this and that. And I understand that's women, you know, they're still carrying their own trauma around that or whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I think it being a home birth did impact the fact that there weren't some complications, you know, because obviously with some interventions that can be the cascade of interventions. Once you have one thing, it does increase your chances of certain things then happening because they have side effects and consequences. But yeah, it was amazing.
That's beautiful.
And obviously I'm big advocate for home births for women that can, but I think I don't know. I think you're right. We just do need to hear that it can be straightforward at times. It's not always really dangerous, not always fearful, and there's parts of it that it can be really beautiful and enjoyable, innocent, you know, enjoyable than the pain, but yeah.
In a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. But like your life before your son, you did a lot of self-development work before that as well, especially, you know, being a yoga teacher and a counsellor. You did a lot of that stuff prior. So do you feel like that gave you a bit of groundwork to enter that sort of stage, especially doing a home birth?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like there's some things. I mean, then when you become a mum, I'm like, whoa, none of that stuff was actually hard. You know, like doing silent meditation retreats or doing water fasts or some of all the intense things that I had done. I'm like, no, being a mum is like tops the list, right? But there were definitely some things in, you know, now in motherhood that have helped me that I learned. So from yoga, let's say, I'm not really doing much physical practice or meditation, even though I meditated every morning for nearly 8 years, right? But now I'm not doing that. But it's more like the philosophical concepts that help me, like the concept of surrendering. Just that is my one thing I've had to keep going back to.
That freaking word,
I just like some days you're like, surrender.
Surrender, I don't want to fucking surrender.
I know. But that's actually a big part of motherhood. It's constantly surrendering, letting go your own agenda, letting go your thoughts, your plans, just rolling with the baby, rolling with their needs, and so a lot of the work did help, but I mean, ultimately, if you do nothing, it doesn't matter. You're still going to go through it.
Yeah.
You're going to learn.
But doing hard things in your life before having babies is you're giving yourself proof that you can do hard things.
That is true. And I did use that as a tool during labour, actually. I wrote a list of, like, all the hard things I'd done.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
Like water fast, like all these things I'd done. And, yeah, it was kind of helpful to just, like, in the early stages of labour, read through some little post-it things I'd put up and be like, okay, I've done hard things. Like,
this is harder.
I'll be able to do it. So, yeah, I think it is. If people can, if they have the capacity. I know everyone's got a lot on their plate and stress and stuff like that. But if you can during pregnancy, I think it's an amazing time to also do some self-reflection, to do some inner work, to connect spiritually with things that make sense for you. I think it's a good time to do it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Even like acknowledging, like, I think it's a little bit different with the second one. Obviously, when I was pregnant with Atlas, it was COVID as well. I was home a lot.
Yeah.
I had a lot of time to journal, reflect, meditate, all that stuff. With the second, it's so different.
Yeah.
And it's like when you have free time, you don't want to think about it.
No.
You just kind of want to do you.
Yeah.
But it is, you know, doing body work, you know, whatever it is, pick your modality, physio, chiro, whatever, massage, whatever it is, getting that done, hip alignment, all these things like counselling, talking about your previous birth, journaling, all these things that are just so beneficial for labour.
Yeah, and everyone's going to have their different thing that they gravitate towards, but just something you can do to reflect, even if it's just like 5 minutes, just to reflect on how you're feeling or have a space where you can share how you're feeling. And yeah, it makes a difference, I think.
It does.
For sure.
Oh, what an experience, hey.
Yeah.
Nothing can ever prepare you for it,
No.
I don't think. I think it's just something that, I think birth is a really beautiful thing that does prepare you for it. It's that, you know, as we said before, it's that going to those places that you've never been before. But then afterwards you're like, oh, if I can do that, regardless of how the baby entered the world, you can do anything, especially like it's all...
And I feel,
hard.
and I feel like that's why, and this is just my personal opinion, I know people have different views on it, but I feel like that's why there is pain in labour. I feel like it's a pain that has a purpose. Yeah, and I've read other women talk about this, like other midwives, like Rachel Reed's book and Jane Hardwick Collins, like they talk about that. Pain with a purpose in labour. Because it pushes you to your ultimate limits.
If birth was easy, it would not prepare you for the intensity of postpartum and being a mum. It would not prepare you. No. Going to those, like the fear that I felt even now thinking about labour, it makes you prepare. It makes you think about all the tools that you can use to get out of your head. Because birth will happen if you do nothing. Yeah. So it's just the head part, calming that down, getting that monkey mind out of the way, because it can just hinder your birth, if anything, if you do let it get to you. So it's very interesting, having that fear, but also facing it and being like, all right, it's going to be hard no matter what. It's going to have elements of it. Some women have these orgasmic, beautiful, painless births that, that's amazing if it happens. But if it doesn't, then, you're not preparing for things that could be intentionally hard. So it's, that I think facing that and acknowledge that, I potentially have really hard moments that I have to face, and picking your modality that will help you through that. But then that pain, there's nothing that prepares you for it. But going to the pits of was it 57 units of pain, equivalent to like 4 fractures at once, opposed to men feeling 42 units of pain, so 57, I think it is. So it's just so interesting. There's nothing more painful than birth.
And it's not just the physical pain. I think it's where you go emotionally, mentally too.
Big time.
There are women that might need to have a very medical birth and have painkillers and want to skip over that pain. That's fine. There might be other elements where you're still going to be challenged mentally or emotionally through that process, maybe making hard decisions or things like that. And that's still beautiful if you can embrace that. But in a way, we just live in this society where it's like anything hard, just, I don't know, jump over it, escape it, like avoid it in a way.
It's the way we're programmed, isn't it?
And it's just, not everything's meant to be always easy. Like sometimes, and I think just with birth, like that pain has a purpose, the reason it's challenging, like there are reasons for it. Instead of jumping over it, just try and embrace it.
Go through it.
Yeah.
Whew.
I know, it's too much for you.
No, I'm just thinking about it. Very helpful. Very helpful.
Got to be careful with pregnant women, we don't want to add to any of this. So enough fear out there. It's more just about telling the truth, but in an empowering way.
No, I'm very excited for birth. I say that I'm very for that reason. No, there's just elements that I'm still kind of working through because of Atlas's birth, and I don't want to be in a hospital. It's just not what I want. So but we'll see. I am excited. I'm excited not only to meet my baby, but to show that I'm capable of having a just a home birth and a uninterrupted physiological birth that women can do. We were born to do it, and I'm a healthy woman, and I don't see why I can't. So it's just this guy, the mind that I'm just working through. But it's there's a reason why labour's 9-10 months. It's time for you to process, unpack, and be there with your thoughts and try not to escape it, which is very easily done with the distraction of a toddler.
True. Yes, or social media, or all of the other stuff.
Big time. Definitely. The excuses that I hear myself saying, I'm just like, wow. But no, it's very interesting, and it's interesting just to hear, just really beautiful stories. I think they're, like I said, they're important. They're important. Yeah. But no, well done.
Oh, thank you.
Congratulations on getting through the first year.
Thank you.
You are out?
Thank you, yeah, for now.
Are you having is there anything that's like incredibly challenging at the moment?
Sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you were saying sleep, I was like, just teething, so waking up a lot in the night. A lot. But I mean, yeah, I think it's just that, to be honest. And I think because we're doing things kind of on the more natural side, like we don't really give him Panadol or anything like that. I think it's just a bit hard. Like you have it's less tools to turn to kind of thing. So it's more like we use like homeopathics or things like that, or soothing or extra breastfeeding and stuff like that.
Breastfeeding is the best way.
But, you know, in the night when they wake up screaming, so he's waking up a lot, like a lot. Some nights every hour. So
fun being there, babe.
Yes,
it's awful.
When you were saying that, I'm like, you know, I'm trying to just tell myself like it's just a stage and it'll change again. And other than that, he's super healthy and happy. And like you said, you know, when they get to that stage where you can do more fun things and taking him to a farm or like see animals and all the things that he loves. So it kind of balances out in terms of like, you know, you can still say it's hard, but it's like I know that if that's the worst thing, we can
we're all right
and we're good. Yeah, especially when you think about everything going on and other babies that aren't well and that kind of thing. So
perspective, it's a beautiful thing sometimes.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. It's just been such a nice chat.
Yeah,
Motherhood and life and
just talking honestly about it, right?
I love it.
I feel like hopefully just more of this, more mums just chatting openly. And
beautiful.
Yeah.
Could do it all day.
Yeah.
It's lovely. But thank you so much for joining me on the episode.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. But if people want to find you, where can they find you?
I'm mainly on Instagram. I'll admit it, even though I probably shouldn't be. No, so just my name, Steph.Beauverd on Instagram.
Perfect.
I'm not sharing that much at this stage, but little bits and pieces of motherhood and, you know, life.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
No worries. Well, thank you for wherever you're listening from. Have a beautiful day. Peace.
And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you received a few good takeaways from the episode. If anyone came to mind while listening, please share it across. Your support will certainly help promote the podcast. To follow everything that I'm doing at the moment, head to my Instagram page, Holistic Healing with Steph Marie. Thanks again for all your support, and I'll see you on the next episode for more conversations that are raw, honest, and vulnerable.